You're listening to the Hustled Up podcast. I'm Laura Natoli.
And I'm Holly Silva, and we are best friends since birth turned multi-passionate entrepreneurs and co-owners of Chores and More, a successful service-based business where everybody is treated like a best friend.
Welcome to our show where tactical business education meets fun and real conversations about this wild journey called life.
Get ready to be inspired. Grab your headphones, turn up the volume, and let's hustle up. Hello, friends and family. Welcome back to another episode of Hustled Up. I am one of your hosts, Holly, and not to worry, Laura will be on today's episode. She's actually sitting right across the room, but the equipment setup for her is a little more complicated than it is for me, so I'm doing the intro today. Before we jump into today's episode, I just want to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you are listening. 5 stars is always appreciated. A little love letter whatever platform you're on, and be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to us on YouTube if that's where you are. It really helps us get into the earbuds of even more listeners and more entrepreneurs who just need a little support or who need some advice, so it really just helps us so much. So we would really appreciate it. Moving on to the topic, we have a super fun guest for you today, and I'm so excited for this one. This was such a good topic, and honestly, it was one that I needed personally. Laura and I sat down with Sherry Andrew. She is the owner of Money Mindset Financial Coaching, and she is the host of the Mind and Money podcast. If you're going to search this, it's Mind plus Money, the plus sign, Money podcast. She is an incredible financial coach who focuses on helping women and people with ADHD. And it's a common thing that people with ADHD have a little more trouble managing their money and budgeting. And she knows that because she has ADHD herself. So she decided to take something that could probably be taken as a negative, having ADHD, having an illness or a mental illness or a mental trouble, and instead putting it to good practice and helping people just like her make money, save money, budget their money while still living in their means, right? Within their means, but also really enjoying their life. Saving money does not mean that you just cut out everything you love. And that's what we learned in our conversation with Sherry today. A little background about Sherry. She got fired from a job in 2017. And that actually propelled her to launch her business in 2018. And ever since she launched her business, it has just been incredible. She has helped so many different people. And we talk about so much goodness in today's episode, again, including saving money, how to do so if you have ADHD tendencies, how to properly budget, and just other things you need to know about finances. So if you're scared to look at your bank account every day like me, or if you have no idea how to budget or what that even means for you, you definitely want to listen to today's episode. It is seriously gold. We should be charging for it. So stay tuned. Let's get to this episode.
Are you tired of spending your entire weekend cleaning when you could be going out to brunch with your girls?
First of all, I love brunch. And second of all, yes, there are so many things I could be doing instead of cleaning my house on the weekend.
Oh yeah, like playing video games.
Or watching a movie with the kids.
Going on a date with your significant other.
Taking your dog to the dog park.
Going to the movies.
Solving world hunger.
Yes! Exactly. So this is why it is such a good idea to call up Chores and More for your deep and recurring cleaning needs.
And do you want to know something really, really cool?
What?
If anybody mentions Hustled Up when they call to book, they can receive up to $100 off their deep cleaning.
Up to $100 off. What are you doing still sitting there? Pick up the phone now, mention our podcast, and never have to spend your weekends cleaning again.
Simply go to choresandmorellc.com. You can fill out our request quote form there, or give us a call, send us a text, 631-397-0177. It is time to get back to doing the things you love. Let us take care of the cleaning.
All right, we are back with Sherry Andrew, and I am so excited to jump into this conversation because I feel like Holly and I are going to learn a lot during this episode. But before we jump into any of that, I would love for you to just introduce yourself to our listener base, let them know what you're all about.
Of course. So I am a financial coach, and my focus for clients are female entrepreneurs with ADHD, because I noticed throughout my business that was who was attracted to me. And then I realized that I had ADHD, so it kind of came full circle. But I really notice such a significant impact with ADHD entrepreneurs because once we get focused, we are dangerous when we know here's how much I have to make. We can go out and figure that out versus somebody who's an employee. Like, we can still have a lot of change, but as an employee, you have less ability to just go out and figure out what you need to make and make that happen because there's less flexibility there.
Awesome. I love that. And you do have your own podcast, which I would love to plug in right at the beginning of this episode. If you want to just talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so it's called the Mind and Money Podcast. Searchability, you have to use the plus sign to find it. And it is another financial professional and I, we co-host together. So she's a financial planner, and as a financial coach, we talk about ADHD, we talk about money, we talk about things that work for our lives as entrepreneurs, and really helping to make it accessible to find that information, because we know not everybody's able to work directly with a financial professional, and we still want to be able to have an impact on the lives of people that know they need change.
Wow. I love that.
That's awesome. I'm like, I need that, honestly. And so, personal question here, but you said that you people with ADHD were attracted to you, and then you discovered that you had it. So that was something that you didn't know until more recently in your adult life?
Right, very recently. So kind of down the COVID TikTok algorithm started to like have me nodding along to the, you may have ADHD if, and continued to nod along and went, maybe I should look at this more. Started going down rabbit holes, learning, researching, and then just recently, after connecting with a new family doctor, started to not officially get diagnosed because I don't need an official diagnosis being self-employed, but some medication has helped, which is wonderful that I know it's a privilege to have access to that. And then once I realized that I had ADHD, I started reflecting, and like it's pretty common for ADHDers to have challenges with their money, and it had me looking back to say, like, why am I able to be successful with managing my money? And then all of the strategies I use, I started looking at going, this makes sense, why it works, because it aligns with how ADHDers are going to be able to set themselves up for success with their finances.
I love that. I'm also not officially diagnosed, but I see a therapist, and I have ADHD tendencies and all that. So, and I also have a money problem. I have a money spending problem. But also in general, I just have a hard time staying focused, right? So I feel like I need legitimate, like detailed strategies to do almost anything right, if I'm being honest. And I kind of like, I need those processes and like procedures, and that's not just with money, but like in my business and kind of everywhere in life, like I need that. So I love that you have gotten tactical about your finances, about budgeting, about just money and all of those things, and to be able to cater it to people who have trouble staying focused or who have ADHD tendencies. That's just fantastic and awesome. So I really love that. So how did this start? Like, how did your love for managing finances and also now teaching people how to manage their finances, how did that begin?
So it was really born out of necessity when one day one person decided that I don't have a job anymore. So I worked, my previous life was in manufacturing in a high stress shift work environment, and a new manager came into the plant, and then just some changes and my role was eliminated. So I got fired in 2017. So after I recovered from the shock, like day 1 and 2, then it was like, okay, money's a problem. Like the paychecks are going to stop very soon. So going from a 1-income household, or going from a 2-income household to a 1-income household, we looked at everything and we cut everything that we could, went down to the bare necessities. And if I'd been looking at it before that and had went down to the bare necessities, it would have looked a lot different, because when your back's against the wall, you have no choice except to make the changes. So everything that could be cut was cut. And then I used to have to travel to other countries to escape work because it was so high stress and I was so easily accessible. and I would get calls all the time off shift. So I had a trip booked before I lost my job. So I lost my job in July, and the end of September, beginning of October, I went with a tour group. So it's a small tour. I think there was like 8 or 10 of us, and went to Peru to hike the Inca Trail. And the people on that tour were all talking about how much they loved their jobs, how like they were excited to get back to it, they were missing their jobs. And that was really the first time in my life that I had my eyes open to like, it's possible to love your job. And part of my severance was working with a career coach, and that career coach saw something had shifted in me when I got back, and I shared that with her, and she started asking me challenging questions. And the big one was, what does that look like for you? What do you enjoy? What would you enjoy doing if you weren't focused on the money? And helping people manage their finance and go through the transition that I went through was the first gut reaction. And then I immediately dismissed it. Well, I can't make money doing that. It's not a profession. It's not a career. And she gave me some homework. And then I started to figure out it is a profession. It is a career. It is something that I can do and make money, and started like to figure out what was next, and took some training. And then just shy of a year after I got fired, I launched my business helping other people to manage their money. And probably not a shock for other ADHD entrepreneurs listening that it's shifted quite a few times throughout my business journey, with the most recent shift being I'm helping ADHDers because that's what I feel most aligned with.
Wow, that's awesome. Because honestly, it's so interesting, because if I'm hearing you correctly, finances and anything like that, that really wasn't a part of your journey up until that point where your back was against the wall, right? Like you didn't grow up like nerding out over numbers and I love math and finances. It was kind of something that happened to you, which is such a beautiful thing, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays don't love their jobs, right? Like it's so common, and you spend so much of your day at work that the fact that loving your job is so not common is actually really, really sad. And it took something horrible happening for you to finally realize, hey, not only can I love my job, but I'm going to go out and make it happen so that I do love my job. So that's incredible. Like you turned those lemons into lemonade, and that's got to feel good.
Yeah, it feels amazing. And like prior to getting fired, I thought that we were budgeting, but when I was able to reflect and look back, like a plus or a minus of my job was that I could work overtime to increase my income, basically unlimited overtime. And that's how we managed financial like challenges is, okay, we have a budget, but we went outside of it all of the time to the tune of thousands of dollars in credit card debt every month to be able to like, okay, how are we going to pay this off? Okay, I'm going to work more. And then ended up working so much of my time to stay out of a hole that once I lost my job, my husband's on a salary. He doesn't have the ability to increase his income with overtime. So now it's like, okay, now not only is it cut significantly, like there's no wiggle room. This is what it is.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's so terrifying. I mean, it's, oh man. Yeah, that's stressful. And even just the thought, even just talking about it, like I don't even, you might be mad at me as a financial advisor about this. I do not even check my bank account every day. Like I hardly check it at all because I get so like overwhelmed at the thought of looking at it. I'm better with our business bank account. This is actually a personal issue that I have that I somehow need to like get over and whatever. So when, and fun fact, I did mention this to you. Laura and I actually got fired as well from a job, and we also had our backs against the wall. And it was funny because we were doing a side hustle of cleaning houses. That was just to make extra money, right? That was the side hustle because we also wanted money, and you want to try to make more of it and all that. But being fired actually forced us to treat our side hustle like a business and really just like fast track it for growth. I was hopping on the Facebook groups and Thumbtack, and I was just like, we got to get clients like that. We had no other choice. And so I can relate very hard to that. And it's scary when you feel like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? But at the same time, it's kind of like the fight or flight, right? Like we immediately went into fight mode. Like we have to do, like there's just no thought. There's no overwhelm. It's just like, this has to be done.
Yep.
wish I could say it made me into a financial pro, but it didn't. I'm still not great with finances, a lot better off. And like, I know how to, we know how to make money. I just don't always know how to manage it, but that's neither here nor there. So
we'll talk after.
Yeah, I was gonna say we might need your help, but honestly, it's so funny because I always tell Holly too, which it's kind of the same with you. I always say getting fired was the biggest blessing that could have happened to us, because I 100% believe today we would not have this business if we didn't get fired, because we never planned on growing it into something huge. We were like, it's a little side hustle. We never wanted to have a business or grow a business, and now we're like, we're going to be the biggest freaking cleaning business on Long Island. So getting fired was the catalyst and the blessing that we needed to make something that was going to be our dreams come true. And it kind of sounds like it was the same scenario as you. So we relate so heavily to your story.
Yeah. And really, I never even had dreams of being an entrepreneur. I just thought like, X more years until I retire. I'm just going to keep putting my money away in investments, and then just like how many more years, like 20 years, 30 years. And it's interesting because I still have a lot of connections to the plant that I got fired from, because my husband still works there and lots of like friends still work there. So I get to hear some things like, and it's like, oh, not my problem anymore.
I was going to say, you're probably like, oh, well, good thing I'm not there today. That's really funny. I love that. Okay, so I love your backstory so much. So I have a couple of like nitty gritty financial questions, but the first one I'm going to ask you, and this is like very broad, so hopefully it will be fine. But what would you say, because you've been doing financial coaching for almost 6 years now, right? About?
Yeah.
So what would you say is like the biggest, hurdles people have when it comes to their money? Like are there any kind of like specific things that people tend to commonly have issues with in terms of managing finances? Does this question make sense? I hope it does.
Yep. It makes perfect sense. And I promise, Holly, I'm not attacking you. Avoidance of their money. Mm-hmm. And it's a cycle, right? When we are in avoidance mode and we're not looking at our bank accounts, we're not looking at our credit card statements, we build it up in our minds to think, oh, it's so bad, so like I'm not going to look. And then it just grows how bad it is in our minds, even though a lot of times what I find is when you rip off the Band-Aid and you look at it and you pull back the layers and you put a plan together, it can feel like relief. It's not fun when you're going through the discovery, but when I work with a new client, we have a first session that's like 2.5 hours long, which seems like it could be a lot, but I can visibly see the weight lifting from their shoulders when we're going through the numbers, because in most situations, people are making enough money, they're just not intentionally spending it. And then when we put a plan together that aligns with who they are as a person, their values, what's important to them, their goals, they start to see like, oh, it is possible if I do this, this, and this plan is aligned with where I want to go. And so many people think that having a plan and having a budget, there's so much stigma around it being about restriction, but it is the polar opposite. Having a plan that includes the things you love, well, sometimes it's like cutting back in some of the things that you are spending now, but it's less intentional and less connected to what you want your life to be. It's really freeing and a weight lifting off your shoulders.
That's awesome. And that makes so much sense, because I'm going to be honest, I have kind of the same issue that Holly does, where literally just last week I was like, I don't want to check my bank account. I never check the business bank account. Like, that's all Holly, because I'm like, I don't even want to know. I put blinders up. And I feel like the reason that a lot of people have blinders up is that they think, oh, if I have to budget, that means that I'm going to lose all the things I love. I can't go out to eat. I can't, do the things I want to do for fun. But it sounds like with your coaching, you kind of figure out what are the non-negotiables. So I would love to know, like, what is the process like when you meet with your clients through your business? Like, what is that process like of getting them to a budget? Like, what is the first thing that you tell them to do other than check your bank account?
So for new clients, when we start working together, the very first session is like kind of like that. We go all into it, and before we meet, there's a file for a new client to fill out where they're putting in their information. Basically, it's like all of their financial information just like vomited into this file, and it's their debt, what their assets are, what their credit score is, because that's a good thing to keep an eye on and check, and like approximately what their expenses are. So I don't expect somebody to go through like months and months of statements, although some people do because they enjoy it. But lots of banks have apps that summarize things for you. So we just want to get an idea of like where we're starting, where has your money been going, and then we have different conversations. So if we're short, if the budget doesn't balance, we find ways to talk about like, okay, can you reduce your grocery spending? You've got 6 subscriptions to different TV services. So it is talking about like, what can we let go of to add in some of the things you love? And one of the things that I love to include in a budget for a client is like travel. If you enjoy traveling, or like if you're a foodie, like the restaurant amount isn't something that we want to cut. Maybe we're adding to it. So it's all about individualized plans. And there's so many financial experts that have these rules, like don't spend more than this percentage in this category. And I do not subscribe to that at all. Like if you live in an area that's a high cost of living and you want to have X apartment in this building, you're just going to have to adjust other things. So it's give and take, and the budget does have to balance, but it doesn't have to be, well, you can't spend here, you can't spend here. Like I never say we can't spend in an area. It's like, if we cut this back, you can do this. So it's like thinking about expanding and opening your eyes to, okay, well, maybe I can reduce this a little bit to find more money to do like these different things. Like one of my clients, first meeting, like hundreds of dollars a month to a storage unit. And she's like, I don't remember the last time I was there. I have room for those things because it was part of a renovation. So put stuff in storage when they were doing a renovation, and now it's just been a pain in the ass to go and empty it out. But when you see, okay, if I could have this $200 back every month, it could go towards this, because it's essentially throwing the money away to the storage because they don't need it. They just haven't taken those last few steps to have it empty. So it's figuring out, identifying challenges for your spending, figuring out where you want your money to go, and then figuring out how to easily get your money to go there. So I don't want my clients to spend hours managing their money. We talk about what's going to make things as easy as possible, and a lot of that, I think I'm like info dumping based on the question.
No, it's great. It's great.
A lot of the things that work really well, especially for individuals with the ADHD, is separating money into different accounts based on what you're going to use it for. Because if all of your money is in one account and you're using a credit card, and you maybe are like have a revolving door in a savings account, like it's really challenging, and adding more accounts actually simplifies things.
Interesting. Would not have guessed that.
No.
In fact, right before you said that, I was thinking about how you said you go through, you figure out what's coming in, what's going out, like kind of assessing, right? And
Yep.
I was just thinking, I have 2 checking accounts and a savings account, and I was like, I should really get everything onto one account so that I can see all of it at once. And now you're hitting me with that. I'm like, wait, I'm wrong. And this is why I'm not a financial advisor. It all makes sense.
Yeah,
That's
like,
really funny.
Specifically for individuals with ADHD, like I never want. It's kind of like there's so many similarities between like eating and managing your money. If I tell somebody like, oh, just don't eat chocolate, it's like that. Just don't make any impulse purchases. It's like, okay, it's 3 days in and I just spent $400 on Amazon because you tried to restrict me. So it's like figuring out how to work that in to your system, but putting some boundaries around it. So we have an amount you want to spend and dedicate to impulse spending, but you don't want to spend like $1,000. Maybe you want to spend like $200 a month. And how can we set that up so that it's separated and you can get quick feedback around how much money do I have left to spend on my impulse spending? And you make different decisions when it's a smaller pot of money that you're deciding on, because you've got clarity, like, oh, it's the first week of the month and I've already spent $100, so I don't want to spend more right now because I want to have more money later in the month.
That makes so much sense. Honestly, it's so funny because before you even said that, I was like, oh, it's kind of like when I'm, on a diet and I'm like in a calorie deficit and I'm like, well, this food isn't good enough for me to spend those calories on it. It's kind of, I had that same exact thought. So I can't believe that you said that. And even when you said, oh, if somebody really likes to travel, we're actually going to add to that, bucket, I was like, I'm like, oh. So I can actually do the things I love if I just figure out what those things are that I want to spend the money on. It's the same thing with eating. You're making so much sense that I'm kicking myself with how bad I am at budgeting.
Well, and that's often a big challenge too, is that people say things like that, I'm bad at budgeting, or things like I can't afford it, and it's really it creates that reality, right? If you're avoiding things because you think you're bad at it, then it makes you not make informed decisions, but you're still spending, but you're spending without the information to know, does it fit within your plan?
Oh God.
That's I love all that. It's just that for me, I am an impulse spender, and I don't think as much as I should when it comes to spending money. I just, and also, I'm one of those, I have anxiety, I get overwhelmed, I get overstimulated, and shopping or spending money on whatever it may be, it's not that it works afterwards, but in the moment, it brings me a weird sense of relief that and then sometimes I get buyer's remorse really bad. Sometimes I just don't. Most of the time, I'm kind of just neutral about it, and I'm like, well, the thrill is over, and whatever. But it's hard to really make those informed decisions, I guess, and when you're not even thinking about making them, if that makes sense.
We get dopamine hits off of researching what we're going to buy, actually adding to your car and buying it, and then when it shows up at your house and you're like, what's this? And so there's all along the stages we get hits of dopamine, and they make it so easy to they'll save our credit cards for us. We just they'll save our address. There's very little friction when we're shopping online because that's the way the retailers have designed it, because that's best for them. So thinking about ways you can create friction. So removing a credit card from Amazon, unsubscribing from emails. If you specifically impulse buy on one website like Amazon, remove your credit card, but then also if you want to spend $200 a month on Amazon, get a gift card for Amazon every month, and then that shows you very immediately when you're on Amazon how much of your gift card you have left. So depending on how the impulse spending shows up, there's lots of different ways to put some creative strategies in place to it's all about creating a little bit of friction to create that pause, because when we're down that rabbit hole and we're researching something, just getting up off the couch to go and find your credit card to enter it into a website can often be enough of a, oh no, I don't want to do that, that you go back to your cart later and it's there and you don't even feel that pull to buy it anymore.
Wow.
I have no words.
That's so smart.
I'm so mind blown about this. I am so mind blown. It kind of reminds me a little bit. I just finished reading Atomic Habits.
Oh my God, I was just thinking that.
One of the points he often makes is that if it's easier to do, the habit is easier to form, and putting blockades on things will make the habit easier to cut. And in this case, I guess impulse spending is kind of like a habit, right? And it should be treated as such. So putting friction, I love that you said friction, that's a great term for it, in that habit, and making it more difficult to do, making it not easy. Yep. That's so smart. I didn't even think of that. I'm totally deleting my credit card off Shein.
I was just about to say that, Holly. You delete that credit card right now.
Totally getting rid of it off Shein. That's my biggest one. They rob me, I tell you.
Well, they make it so easy. And we actually have an episode that's all around impulse spending that I will share the link with you guys so you can share that as well. And another thing is, for entrepreneurs, it adds so many more layers to the managing of your finances, especially for sole proprietors, because in corporation, there's more rules, there's more rigidity. But for sole proprietors, linked accounts, having everything in one for all of your personal and all of your business, and not putting money aside for taxes. And I actually love, I'm not sure if you guys have ever read the book Profit First. It's amazing, and it's all
It
about
was recommended
different.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't read
yeah.
it yet though.
It's all about different buckets for different purposes, and it's all around like percentages. So we just did a podcast on this too, another shameless plug, but like starting to have it mapped out, what percentage of money has to go where based on your business structure. So our business structures are very different. I'm very low overhead because I'm a service-based business. I'm a solopreneur. It's just me, so I don't have wages to spend. So it's all about dividing it for taxes, for sales tax if it's applicable, for your salary, and for and to cover your expenses. And the biggest thing is, you can pay yourself a consistent salary from your business no matter how variable your income is. And it's the sooner you set it up in your business, the easier it is. But no matter where you are in your business, it's best to try and set it up now versus like down the road, because a lot of times having that variability in income is what forces people back into the workforce, because that consistent paycheck is very attractive and desirable. And if you can create that consistent paycheck from your business, no matter what structure it is, it's going to allow you to stay in your business for like ever if you want to, because you don't have that, oh, it was a crap month in my business, so now I can't afford to pay my rent.
I totally love. I love that. We do a salary, and then we'll take owner draws every so often. We don't know enough about our books to know how much we can take sometimes. That's our one issue, but we're working on it. But that's actually a very good point. So you would really recommend, even for someone who is as a solopreneur, you called it.
Yep.
You would recommend they take a salary like every week as if they were an employee. Like, you would recommend that.
100%. And the principles in the book Profit First, which is what I share with my clients who are self-employed, a little like simplified version of it is like every month. So exactly what I do is at the end of every month, I just distribute the money from my income account into all these other accounts, and I can see how many months I have saved to pay myself my salary. And that's an indicator for me to see, like, is it time to give myself a raise? Is it time to like push the income in my business? Like, is that account getting lower than I'd like it? So having it separated with easily identifiable, like what it's for, what the purpose is, makes it so much easier to make decisions in your business.
Wow, that makes so much sense, honestly. And you specifically, I know you work specifically with ADHD people, but you also said you work with women entrepreneurs. Is all of the, because business ownership, it can be a little unpredictable, like we were saying with finances. Is that kind of why you gravitate more towards working with entrepreneurs rather than the everyday person?
It's kind of like the bigger the challenge, the more impact I have. And it sounds crazy, but people come to me like, oh, I'm too big of a mess. Like, you're not going to be able to help me. It's like, challenge accepted. Like, if you're already actively budgeting and you just need like a few tweaks, you want to like find an extra $200 to invest, like, yes, I can help, but my impact just feels like it's so small. But when somebody's like, I have no idea how much I'm making in my business, I have no idea where my money goes, just like, yes, we are going to figure this out, and we are going to walk through things. And the bigger the mess, the bigger the impact that is felt through financial coaching. And it's like, I love those like messes, because I'm able to really help identify where you can grow, what you can do in your business to kind of streamline things. And like, when I'm coaching entrepreneurs, a lot of it comes down to, it's a little bit of financial coaching, a little bit of like business coaching, a little bit of just like being the shoulder and the accountability to talk things out. But for entrepreneurs, a lot of the time it is undercharging, undervaluing their services, especially for ADHD entrepreneurs who we get in our heads and we don't see our value as clearly as others see it. So all of those strategies work together to really have a huge impact on new clients that are self-employed.
I love that. You're like, the bigger the challenge, come at me.
You would love
Sign me up.
Yeah, literally. You would love us individually. You would love our business. You would like be like, I said a challenge, not a headache.
Well, people a lot of times think that they're too big of a headache, I hear things a lot that really do break my heart. When somebody books a free call with me to see if we're a good fit to work together, I just ask a few questions just to get to know and understand them a little bit. And somebody recently filled one out saying that they've had challenges with working with other financial professionals because they felt judged and they felt shame, and like that breaks my heart, because when you feel like that creates the stigma around working with another financial professional, and that makes you like feel like crap with your money. And like, it's anytime I'm working with a client, or even just having random conversations with people, are like, you're talking about money, let me interject with you, random stranger. But it's all about having an open line of communication. And if somebody's harping on you for how you're spending, or talking down to you because you don't understand a concept or a recommendation, like that's horrible for the person that's the client, because that just makes them put their head in the sand even more.
You read my mind, because I was literally just going to bring this up. Like, we really are best friends now. Sorry, Laura.
Wow.
But
I'm joining.
I'm the three best friends. I'm sorry. But really, like, I was just about to bring this up about being judged, because even talking to you off camera, and mentioning just, and even on camera, about how I'm a little bit of a mess with my finances. I have an impulse spending issue that I'm working through. It is embarrassing. It's a touchy subject. It makes me feel vulnerable, and money is a very intimate topic, and it's you really have to, when you're working with a financial advisor or any kind of financial, like a bookkeeper, an accountant, whatever. For me, I feel like I really have to like trust them, and they have to make me feel really comfortable and like not stupid for my accounts looking however they look, or making silly financial decisions, which I've done my whole life. And so I'm still learning. I've gotten better with things, but still, it does feel like shameful. So I think it is really important to find somebody who isn't gonna, like judge you or make you feel bad for your accounts being the way they are. And I feel like the people who probably let it go the most, right, like who need the most help, are probably the ones who are most ashamed of asking for help. So do you have like I know you kind of already gave it, but do you have anything else you would want to say to somebody like that, who's like really like nervous, who's really feeling nervous to ask for help and reach out, whether it's for themselves or their business?
Yeah, just know that everybody screws up. So I share a lot on my social media about like things I do personally, things that I've messed up with my money. So nobody is perfect. I still screw things up, and nobody is perfect. Having help is going to benefit you in the long run, and finding that right person. And maybe that's me, maybe there's so many other financial coaches out there that are very like niche down to help with specific things, and just find one that you have a good like connection and vibe with. And I lean into social media a lot for sharing what the experience is like working with me, who I am. And my goal, again, this happens a lot, is like I'll get on a discovery call with a new potential client, and they're like, I feel like I already know you. So being open, being vulnerable on my social media, like I hope helps people feel like, you know what, she's a human, she's not going to judge me, there's not going to be these like difficult conversations, she's not going to talk down to me, because that's too common in the financial professional space, and I don't want anybody else to ever have an experience like that.
Yeah, I would be nervous. After talking to you, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Here's my accounts. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. But I would definitely feel nervous. Even like before speaking to you, I would feel nervous getting on with anybody. But you're right. Everybody messes up somewhere in life. Like nobody's perfect, right? So
Yep.
I think it's important for people to remember that. And we say this a lot with our cleaning, in our industry too, people get ashamed of asking for help if they let the house go, if it's, they feel embarrassed, there's like dust or whatever. And tell them all the time, life is life, and it's too much sometimes. Like things like cleaning the house and forget it, managing money. No, I have no time for that.
Oh, yeah, there is a lot of similarities there between our client base, because lots of people probably feel shame and embarrassed around like what their house looks like, and they feel like, oh, I can't have somebody to help me with this yet because first I need to blah. It's like I've heard before, like, oh, I just want to pay off this debt before I work with you. It's like, but I can help you pay that debt off faster, and we'll make things easier sooner versus like you don't have to have like specific things done before you work with me, and you like your house doesn't have to be immaculate before they call you to have somebody come in and help them get it cleaned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
I was thinking that the whole time you were talking, I was like, wow, there are so many parallels. You'd be surprised how many people, even, just the other day, I actually went out into the field for a cleaning, which we really don't do often. And the homeowner was like, this was really weird for me. It was really, scary and uncomfortable to ask for help. My husband's been telling me for years, just hire for somebody. And I had to literally convince her. I was like, listen, you deserve it. And we get that so often on phone calls. Somebody the other day literally asked, whoever comes isn't going to judge, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, no. If your house was spotless, we wouldn't be in business. So I think anything that's intimate or embarrassing, like our two industries, it's just so important to be judgment free, because unfortunately a lot of people out there aren't judgment free. And I think showing up on social media and being authentic and being yourself is a great way, and we try to do that as well in our business.
And then, showing up on social media helps you see that there are a lot of jerks out there, because some of the comments that people will put on a video, it's just like keep scrolling if you don't have something nice to say. And my experience is that the trolls that put the nasty comments are the ones that aren't showing up on social media. They have private profiles. They don't have you can't even see their face anywhere. So it's brave of you to comment from a profile that nobody can connect to you.
Yep.
I call them scroll trolls.
I love that. It's totally fitting. It's like, why would you feel the need to put that comment? If you don't agree with something I'm saying, then that's fine, but go away.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I love that though. And I love that you had mentioned impact, because we're big on that too. Like, and for that reason, sometimes I prefer the person who like needs more help, like the person who really feels like I need this person in my life to like clean this freaking house. And I love it, because it does feel more impactful, and it feels like, wow, I'm really making a difference like in this person's life. So I totally relate to that. And I feel like in your industry, and I feel that I do this too, but money makes the world go round, right? Like just to put it bluntly, like money is what you need it to live. Like it's not evil. It's not the root of all evil or any of that. I know some people have weird relationships with their money, but at the end of the day, we all need it. We all need to live. We need it to live, and we do only live one life, right? So, or at least this one, it's only going to be lived once. So it is so important to make sure that you have financial freedom, or at least some kind of, hold on it, so that you can enjoy your life. Because, I mean, you could probably enjoy life from a cardboard box living outside on the grass, but realistically, like, you need money to do things that you love. So I think it's important that if people don't know where their money is or where it's going, or maybe just need some ideas on how to make more of it, how to pay their bills and just keep the roof over their heads, like, these are really, really important things. So the service that you offer is so invaluable, and I feel like people probably don't even know like quite how important it is. And what you're doing is like, I'm getting deep here, I know, but like, it's true. It's like, it's so important. Like, you really are making a difference in like the lives of people you're helping.
Yeah, I love that analogy between, like, if you go in or you send somebody in to clean a house and it's pristine, you feel like you're there, like, working you're like, oh, I'm doing this, but I feel like the homeowner, like, just mopped their floor, so you're like, the impact feels so little, and it's like the bigger the mess, the more impact somebody that's cleaning will feel like they'll be able to turn around and be like, I did that, it was like this, and it's now like this. And being able to do that with people's money is just so empowering. Like, I've got some clients that I've worked with for a really long time that are ADHD and have that, like, they just need that touch in often enough, and I'll get messages from them just randomly out of the blue, some that I still work with, some that I haven't worked with in years, and oh yeah, I was able to like pay myself another bonus from my business because I had oversaved for taxes, which is the goal I always try and help entrepreneurs set up. Like, I love to see people excited to do their taxes. I know it seems like a Herculean effort, but if you've got 3% more saved than you needed to, and you file your taxes, you pay what you owe, and then you have money left over, and like, being able to eliminate debts, that like frees up more money month to month. So finding ways that you can get rid of that weight that's on you and give you more flexibility and time freedom and flexibility is really, like, it's one of my top values, to be able to work with who I want to, not need to feel the pressure to work with anybody who is ready to like give me their money, and not working on the weekends, which you guys mentioned earlier. Having that, as an entrepreneur, it can creep into all areas and all hours of your life, and having those boundaries around your schedule, like, it's something that's not attainable if you are having challenges with your money. You feel like you have to work all the time. You feel like you have to spend all that time stressing about things. And there's lots of statistics on like how much time people are distracted because of their financial situation. And think about the mental space you could get back if you're not feeling that stress and worry about your money.
Major. Like, it would make a major difference in my life if I just didn't feel so stressed, about that. And those are all amazing points. Like, it's so true. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that it's so much deeper than just like having money, which is obviously great, but it's like literally giving yourself the means to live a good, well-balanced, meaningful life. You know what I'm saying? It's like so much more than that. So I love what you do. I love your service. So my question, as we're rounding out here, is where can people find you if they want to work with you? You like that transition, right? That was good.
Smooth. Yeah, so I will share my website information, but I'm also very active on social media, on Instagram and TikTok. And so the name of my business is Money Mindset Financial Coaching, and my handle on Instagram is Money Mindset FC with no underscores, no periods, no anything. So I love interacting with my followers, and I love being able to like be open and share about my life and the decisions that I make with my finances. And I'm pretty open with what I do on the business side, but my husband's not quite as flexible and open as, so I don't share as much on the personal side. But a lot of the things that we do are like, we have fully combined finances with me being the main money manager, and that's very common with the clients that I work with too. Women are taking on more responsibility of managing household finances now than I feel like they have ever done in the past.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Go women. I swear we're the best.
Yes. Girl power.
We do everything.
We do.
Awesome.
And where can they listen to your podcast, by the way? Because I know we talked about that, but we didn't cover where they can go find that and listen.
Yeah, so we are on Apple, Spotify. We're also share the videos on YouTube, and I can share a link with that. So if you head to my website, which is moneymindsetfc, again, no spaces.com, there's a tab on there that shares information on where to find the podcast. So we talk about all things money, ADHD, what's working in our lives, what's working in our businesses, because there's lots of things that we get told we should do as entrepreneurs, and a lot of that advice is not friendly for ADHDers because we don't function the same as everybody else. We don't have as much capacity as a lot of neurotypicals.
I love that. That's going to be my new jam. I can tell. Like,
I know,
as soon as we end this recording, as soon as we end this recording, I'm jumping on there. I'm so excited. And for everybody who's listening here, you will be able to find this in the description below, and you will also find it on the show notes on our website, and I will make sure Sherry sends me all of those links. And in the meantime, Sherry, this was an absolute pleasure, and I am so excited for everybody to, like, just connect with you, and I'm excited to connect with you myself. Like, I'm going to go stalk out your socials in a second. Because
Come on over.
Because all the lessons you gave today were just so invaluable, and even just the deepness, too, of our conversation was just a pleasure. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you both.